everyone wants to be decentralized. Well, the number one buying out the number two is sort of a big problem if that's your goal. There also remain huge questions.
I predict under 4 years, CoffeeZilla will get more radicalized. I think because he's astute and he also does a lot of work going after crypto scams exclusively. I think he's going to see the writing on the wall, because the things that he's discovering in crypto, it's just a hyper-capitalist playground, which is what cryptocurrency, unregulated hyper-capitalist playground. Well, maybe we can have copium about the crypto bros, because cryptocurrency is fucking tanking right now.
Crypto Armageddon is here. The biggest players in the world are at war. They're fighting it out, and I'm here to tell you who won and what's next. Now, I'm going to be honest, I called this yesterday. I warned you guys that FTX, second largest exchange, might be insolvent, and people called me crazy. They said, no way the guy who described all of DeFi as a Ponzi scheme could be bad. Sam Bankman-Fried, he's just too smart. FTX, after all, is endorsed by Tom Brady. What could go wrong with another celebrity endorsement? People like Larry David backed FTX. Surely your funds are safe.
Wait, what? No, Larry David. Oh man, you were supposed to be one of the exceptions to the rule, and then you went full Matt Damon. It doesn't matter, eh? It doesn't matter. Every celebrity is trash across the board. There's no good ones. They're all garbage. Every single. We've given them too much power. We've put too much stock in them. Oh wait, sorry, nope. Danny DeVito. Fuck all of y'all. Danny DeVito. Yeah. I would still lose my shit to be able to meet Danny DeVito. I want to give that beautiful human being a giant hug. That's that. And Keanu. Yes. Keanu and Danny DeVito. Those are the only two. Okay? The only two so far. I say this, and then there's going to be a fucking John Wick 4 NFT tie-in camp. No, actually, there's not, because he's been asked on camera what he thinks about NFTs, and he burst out laughing, and then talked about how he's like, why are you trying to make artificial scarcity in a world of infinite, easy replication? He's like, that's so stupid. That's right. Keanu is still based. He did well. He did it. Oh, okay. So there's two. We got two. We got those two. Sarah Silverman? No. Sarah Silverman's been doing mad blackface. She's not great. She's not good. No, it's just not. No.
Well, turns out they were actually in danger all along, and things are looking very bad. So I'm going to explain to you this entire mess very quick, but bear in mind this is a very dynamic situation. Things are changing by the hour.
Didn't know that. Yeah, so Sarah Silverman was one of those big holdouts back in the day who would go on to Bill Maher's show and stuff and be like, why can't I say the N-word? What's wrong with all of you? And then did skits where she said the N-word with the hard R as part of the song and was doing blackface and all this. And she's like, I'm just trying to expose racism. And everyone's like, well, yeah, but you're also doing it by saying and appropriating things that you don't really have a right to do. So this is not a great look. And that was back in the day, that was a long time ago. Yeah, and now it's kind of like... Ugh.
But let's get into it.
LeVar Burton? Correct answer. We have three. We have three good celebrities. Okay, LeVar Burton is the third. I will agree with LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton can do no wrong. Is Danny Glover still based? Danny Glover is one of the most talented human beings in the history of entertainment. I would say possibly the most talented human being in the history of entertainment. It's just too much talent, so much so that it is unbelievably intimidating to watch that man sing and watch that man act and write and fucking holy hell and even be good at stand-up. Is there anything in entertainment Donald Glover is not really good at, is not the best at? And it's like, I'm going to try new thing. I'm going to do this now. And it's like, whoa, you're one of the best versions of this we have. And it's like, I'm going to sing now. And it's like, whoa, I'm going to do hip hop now. It's like, whoa, what? It's the best version of all these things. What is going on? Yeah, Donald Glover. That's what we're talking about, right? Oh, I said Danny Glover. Oh, Danny Glover. I'm assuming he's still based. Danny Glover is still based. He's a Bernie bro, I want to say. I mean, he definitely hasn't called out Mel Gibson, which he should. He should call out Mel Gibson. No shame in calling out racist ass Mel Gibson. I think that's one of the greatest things ever. But yeah, that one's not great. That one's not good. Yeah. Donald Glover was a big Yang Gang fan. Okay, well there's a strike. Yeah, I'm still gonna stand by Donald Glover is one of the most talented human beings ever, though. Danny Glover does seem cool. I like Danny Glover is someone I would just like want to meet just because it's like, you know, I grew up, I was a kid in the 90s. A lot of those movies were coming out and all that kind of stuff. Dolly Parton is apparently pretty based. I guess, yeah, that's all of them. There's no more good ones.
Two rival crypto exchanges, Binance and FTX, the number 1 and number 2 crypto exchanges. And their CEOs, CZ and SBF, or Sam Bankman-Fried, hate each other. That's an important part of this story. But things were calm at
I cannot set this up better for all y'all. This is massive. Okay, I know some of you are bored of cryptocurrency, you're bored about hearing about it, or you don't care about cryptocurrency because you don't have any money in it, so it doesn't matter to you, or any that kind of shit, right? What was very, very scary about the blockchain and cryptocurrency was that we were on the cusp, the verge of Web 3.0. We were so close to Web 3.0 that YouTube was already announcing that you were about to be able to mint your videos as NFTs as a feature. Now, they could still go through with that. I'm not saying they're not going to. They very well could. But I'm just saying that Web 3.0 was being sold to us as the next future iteration of the internet. And it was the scariest possible reality for anyone. If you grew up in the early aughts internet days, when the internet was not as sophisticated as today, you probably remember Web 1.0. Web 1.0 was basically a whole bunch of freedom. Websites were popping up. People were generating their own things. Some people were starting their own kind of stores and stuff like that. But it was very kind of like, ooh, this is a neat new thing. And not a lot of people have adopted the idea of putting the internet through the phone line and dialing it in. But those who do are liking it and are having fun. And it seems to be a very growing fad or whatever you want to call it. And it's exploding. It wasn't like you need to have the internet to basically operate in society. We weren't there yet. That was Web 1.0. GeoCities, Netscape, all that kind of stuff. Web 2.0 is where all of a sudden people started generating the content itself. And this has fucking completely changed the dynamic of everything we consume. Back in the day, those who had media empires, magazines, radio shows, all that kind of stuff were massive companies. And the bigger the company got, the more power it got. And then all of a sudden it would be one of the dominating forces in its field, right? Web 2.0 starts to suddenly make the average Joe, you and me, all of a sudden be able to go on the internet and start a blog, aka a magazine. Go on the internet and start a radio show, aka a podcast. Go on the internet and start a live show, aka a stream. Go on the internet and start a movie channel, aka a YouTube. That's all what Web 2.0 was. And all of a sudden the users were the one generating the content. And everyone was so excited about all this because it's like, we're democratizing this shit. It's no longer going to be the realm of the celebrities, the elites, the bourgeois who get to control media, stories. Anyone who wants to could become famous tomorrow and have a voice or have a platform or whatever you want to call it, as long as they have a really good fucking front-facing presentation and or funny, whatever you want to call it, right? We didn't realize, and by we I just mean society, what was happening back then, and that the same thing that always happens. A handful, a very small amount of companies were suddenly conglomerating, were monopolizing, and in the background, they were fucking dedicating themselves to becoming the only websites that control the internet. And now, like everything else in society, whether it's food, beer, airlines, entertainment, there's only a small amount, like 5 fucking companies that control all the websites we go to all the time. Like, you think you go to a bunch of different websites? You don't. You go to Alphabets, aka Google, YouTube, that's the ones they own. You might use Facebook for Instagram and or Facebook and or no one uses Meta, let's not get chilly, and or WhatsApp, something like that. You might go over to, well, not Twitter, because Twitter's not really going to exist anymore, so Twitter's not even in the fucking ballpark. You might go to Wikipedia, that's another one, but that's basically it. And then it's like blah, 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 over and over and over and over and over. So that's Web 2.0. Web 2.0, capitalism 1. Capitalism controls the internet. The internet was supposed to be this like amazing, free, open source, fucking everything is possible. This is a brand new world. We can create infinite everything. Knowledge will be available for free. Fucking people will be able to do things they never thought possible. Virtual reality, when incorporated into the internet, is going to change. Have you seen Johnny Mnemonic? Have you seen The Matrix? Have you seen Hackers? All these movies coming out showing us like this is going to be this brave new world. And then it's like, nah, it's capitalism. So capitalism won again, and then did what it always does. But then along comes Web 3.0. And Web 3.0 is blockchain-based internet everything. As in, everything on the internet is going to be based on the blockchain. There will be a permanent ledger of everything, all your interactions. even if it's randomized, even if we have these long Bitcoin addresses, there's still a way to track whose Bitcoin belongs to whom, whose wallet belongs to whom. And eventually, if Web 3.0 is mass adopted, it'll be remarkably less efficient than the current iterations of the internet. It will also make it so that other companies can't compete and will have to adopt Web 3.0 by default because there's just no alternatives to using it. And things like medicine, for example. Suddenly medicine is going to be, you will have a permanent ledger of everything you do in a hospital, everything that, because it's cheaper for them. The alternative to us, we just simply cannot compete with this. So things like your medical records, yes, they're now available on the blockchain. And this is the way the entire web works. This is Web 3.0. And as soon as you hear that and figure it out and learn what it is and how it's supposed to now take over the internet, and it's remarkably inefficient and it's a really, really bad way, and also destroys the environment in the process and generates a ton of weird income for a bunch of really bad and malicious actors, when you realize, whoa, that's horrifying. I don't want that. No more privacy, no more nothing. It's a dystopian future of the highest order. And that's what they were selling us on. So I do take a lot of pleasure in watching all of this crash, collapse, whatever you want to call it, and just burn in real time.
First, for the most part, they played nice for years, until recently SBF decided to take a pot shot at his competitors' attempts to work with regulators and said, he is allowed to go to DC, right? Implying that CZ was banned. Now, he didn't know it at the time, but SBF set off World War III in crypto with this tweet, and he might have signed his own funeral, because a few days later, a report came out from CoinDesk leaking FTX's financial balance sheet. And what it showed is that they had a lot of money, but it was sort of locked up in all these token projects they were a part of, most notably in FTT token, Solana, and other projects that they were behind. And they couldn't sell the projects anytime they wanted to. In other words, even though they had billions of dollars worth of assets, they weren't very liquid, and it was arguable that some of the coins weren't that valuable. So they couldn't get access to these funds immediately. Meanwhile, they had huge liabilities of $8 billion, $7.4 billion of which were loans. Now, Dirty Bubble Media, who was the person who called out the collapse of Celsius, which we've talked about extensively, picked this up in a scathing report. In it, he suggested that FTX and Alameda Research might be insolvent because all their money was locked up in these tokens that might be worthless. And if everyone tried to withdraw their money all at once, the company could likely not pay off their liabilities. Now, CZ saw this and decided to take an opportunity to strike against his biggest rival. He announced that day that because of recent revelations, which because of that report, quote, "we have decided to liquidate any remaining..."
By the way, you know how the lettuce beat out Liz Truss? The Twitter lettuce with a fucking based-ass pride flag in the background. Can Twitter outlast this lettuce? The lettuce might win. Like, the lettuce might beat Twitter. Because right now, Twitter is an absolute fire sale. If what is like every single major head of, I think, almost every category, from human rights to HR to fucking privacy to, like, they've all quit. And the engineers that do remain, they're being asked to do something that is technically illegal under a federal crime, which is to self-certify for the FEC. So if they don't do that, which I don't think they will, then lettuce could win. Like, lettuce could win. And also, lettuce says trans rights.
FTT on our books. Now, this was massive given that FTX's #1 holding was FTT. Their competitor Binance is saying that they're going to dump up to $2.1 billion worth of it on the open market, causing that price to plummet. Now, all of a sudden, you don't even have illiquid funds. You just have none of those funds. So even though CZ said that this was not a move against a competitor, it kind of looked like it was, right? Of course he's going to say that. In reality, he knew what he was doing. Now, immediately, this stoked all sorts of fears about the solvency of FTX.
Trump announcement scheduled for 9 p.m. on Tuesday, eh? So is he doing his, I'm announcing my candidacy? I guess Trump is officially running for president on Tuesday.
And the fear spread like wildfire. Is
Allegedly.
FTX the next Luna? Is FTX the next Celsius? And people started to withdraw funds like crazy, which honestly was the logical move to make. The problem with crypto exchanges right now is that because there's no monetary insurance on your money, even if the probability of an exchange going bust is less than 1%, you still have to take all your money out, because if they do go bust, you lose everything. If it doesn't go bust, you only lose a fraction of a percent on trading fees for being cautious. And so there's really nothing to risk by taking your money out, and there's everything to risk by keeping it in. So basically that means bank runs are extremely common these days, and a lot of these exchanges, they're really not ready for it. In fact, Sam Bankman-Fried himself said that a lot of crypto exchanges are secretly insolvent, which was a bit of weird foreshadowing. But at first, it looked like FTX wouldn't go insolvent. A lot of people said this was very unlikely, since in the past, they've looked very strong. And that's what they basically said.
By the way, I just want to say, because I always get the weird, and they're real. There are progressive crypto people, okay? And they are a minority, and they fight really hard to be very fucking loud. But I always get them popping off in my fucking Twitter tweets when I make fun of crypto bros and crypto shit and ANCAPs and libertarians and all that kind of stuff about how, Lance, you just don't understand blockchain technology could actually do a whole bunch of lefty things that you've always wanted. Like, imagine if you had a blockchain based, like, and I bought into a lot of that not too long ago with the idea of, like, Odyssey, the streaming service. It fundamentally makes sense to me as someone who understands and used to use torrents that collectively, if people actually work together to help host and serve things, we would use way less energy and not need centralized servers and not have corporations control and dictate where and who can host shit, like the way Amazon does now, right? Central servers in Amazon are necessary for most online companies now to get up and start. That's a very scary precedent. One company should not control that. I like decentralizing. I like democracy. I like the ability for people to be able to start up and host their own shit. That shit is cool to me. So I am on board with the idea of that. The problem being is that we were sold a lie, because this is a remarkably inefficient way to do it. And the requirement for it to both, in certain cases, need mining and require, which is so energy intensive, and require there to be a permanent ledger of every single transaction upon the blockchain. Like it's actually one of the worst ways to both transfer money, because A, it's not decentralized. Let's be totally real. It's decentralized up to the point that you need to use it. If I have like $50 in crypto and I want to spend that $50, I gotta go turn, unless the place I'm buying accepts cryptocurrency, which yes, there's a handful of places, but they're very fucking limited. It's like less than 0.1%. I need to go and turn that into Canadian dollars. I need to go to a crypto machine and turn it into centralized currency that once again is controlled by the globalists and the elites and everything else, right? So that's where the whole entire problem comes into it.
They said, look, it's no big deal. This is all FUD. Nothing to worry about. Alameda Research, who is
Mining
closely
is dead,
tied
I
to
wish.
FTX. Actually,
Mining's not dead. Shell is now betting hard. Shell is going all the way into mining. I'll pull up the link.
Responded about these leaks in their financial balances, and they said, quote, they have $10 billion worth of assets that aren't reflected there, and that also they have returned most of their loans by now. And most shocking of all was that they offered CZ to buy all of his FTT off market for $22 each, near the current price. Now, the reason for this is obviously to show that, okay, we're not scared. We've got the money to back this up. And if you really aren't trying to sink us as a competitor, you'll be happy to do this private deal, get a better price, and not impact our price. It would save both parties a lot of
There's already Chrome extensions to show who has the mark of the rube versus the actual real one. I'm totally installing that.
headache. But unsurprisingly, because these guys hate each other, CZ wasn't having it. He said he was going to stay in the free market,
That's so
signaling
funny.
that he fully intended to squash the price of FTT, and he did. FTT dropped over the next 24 hours 30%. And not only that, reports started showing that FTX withdrawals were increasing. The bank run really was happening like CZ wanted. And this is where we have to go back to Alameda's CEO, what they said about having $10 billion.
The name of fucking Chrome extension is $8.
worth of assets. Because there's some really key
That's so
caveats
funny.
about those claims. What are those $10 billion worth of assets? Are they cash? Because if they are, they're probably fine. But if there's something like more FTT token or more of Sam's other projects that he can't sell, well, that's going to be a significant problem for them when everybody's running and asking for their crypto back and they just don't have it. So questions were flying about what exactly FTX was doing with your money when you deposited it. Were they just giving it to Alameda Research, which is sort of acting like a hedge fund and trading with your crypto, trying to make a big return? Or were they keeping your funds safe and just practicing proper risk management? Well, this is where everyone just basically waited with bated breath to see what was going to happen next. Uh-oh, this looks pretty bad. They froze withdrawals. And at the same time, the team basically went totally silent, and people commented on how bad this looks on them. Why aren't they speaking? And people started to circle back to old clips of Sam Bankman-Fried describing DeFi and crypto as basically a Ponzi scheme positively, and they wondered, how did any of us trust this guy?
I think of myself as like a fairly cynical person, and that was so much more cynical than how I would have described farming. Like, you're just like, well, I'm in the Ponzi business and it's pretty good.
At no point did any of this require any sort of like economic case. It's just like other people put money in the box, and so I'm going to too, and then it's more valuable, so I'm going to put more money in. And at no point in the cycle did it seem to like describe any sort of like economic purpose.
So yeah, things are looking really grim. But if you have your money locked up on FTX and you're clinched up right now, take a deep breath, because things look like they might be fine. Although it's coming from a very unlikely source. CZ announced only hours after FTX paused withdrawals that they were going to buy them. Binance was...
Did I see that Hinkle talked to Peterson? Yeah, didn't he get like anti-Semitic in his actual post about it? Yeah. Don't miss an opportunity. Like I said, by the way, this dude is going to fucking blow up in far right circles. Like Jackson Hinkle, in a couple years, you could see him being on fucking Fox News or something like that.
To buy FTX, the #1 crypto exchange, buying the #2 out. Quote, this afternoon, FTX...
Dude is an insane cloud shark? Yeah, but he did it, right? Like, he openly said, everything I do is for clout. And he openly said so many things. And he also, like, in my assessment, and I know I'm biased, but he embarrassed himself so much in every debate I've ever seen Jackson Hinkle do, and he just kept failing upwards. Like, he would do a debate with like Destiny and just get fucking blown out. He would do a debate with fucking Dylan Burns and get blown out. He would do a debate with Vosh and just get blown out every time. Like, oh wow, that was embarrassing. I guess he's probably gonna take some time off just to kind of like cool from that. And then it would be like fucking 500 live viewers, 10,000 live viewers, and you're like, whoa, that's wild.
Ask for our
so
help.
maybe
There's
debates
a significant
don't
liquidity
destroy
crunch to
in the
protect
marketplace of
users.
ideas.
We signed a non-binding LOI intending to fully acquire FTX.com and help cover the liquidity crunch. Now, I'm at a loss for words. This is insane.
Most of them are RT bots. I think that's copium. I'll be honest with you. People need to wake up to the fact that these people, whether it's Jackson Hinkle, Salty C-Word, fucking True Patriot, Red Pill 460, Hitler 29, all these people on Rumble and all over the place, they're getting huge numbers, not just because it's like Russian bots or stuff like that, but because there is a market for, like, okay, you can... Like Sharky says, kind of proof if you have class of good looks and you're white, sometimes life isn't too hard. That plays a factor in it. But there's also a massive market for contrarian pundits who come from the West who are also doing very pro, like Russia is glorious, glory be to Putin, all that kind of stuff. It's coming from being American. I've got an American fucking flag in my bio, and I love Vladimir Putin. I think he's the fucking awesome ass tits motherfucker, great guy. Fuck yeah. That plays, you know? I'll go in RT. Like, by all metrics, Caleb Maupin should not be a media personality. He is so deeply unlikable in every way, shape, or form. Like the fucking accidentally sharding yourself of human beings. It's wild how unlikable he is. But he does have a very dedicated following that will watch his streams and all that kind of shit. Because at the end of the day, he's doing that thing. He's giving you RT from the Russian perspective. It's like, you know, you don't see a lot of people being like, the imperial core, America is the only evil force in the entire world, and Vladimir Putin is actually liberating Ukraine from the Nazis. Like, in other circles, he probably wouldn't have done that well. But for that, like, if you want to get that bag, the same thing applies. Like Dave Rubin should not have a career. Dave, he is just a fucking absolute joke of a human being. He puts zero effort into researching what he talks about, into learning what he speaks about. He is always just constantly chasing, how do I get famous? How do I get famous? How do I get famous? How do I get more famous? And then as soon as he found out, like, oh, there's a big market for people who used to say they were liberals but don't identify as liberals anymore, and they can get more money, and then the Koch brothers money will start flowing in, and then they'll just be rich and famous. I could be rich and famous. All I got to do is sell out all my beliefs and also sell out gay people. That's it. Okay, yeah, no, where do I sign? I'll take it.
If you're not sure what's just happened, CZ.
Anyone here into Square Enix? Square Enix is fucking, they make great games. I enjoy my fucking RPGs.
Basically set his competitor on fire by stoking rumors of insolvency, and then showed up with water buckets later, you know, basically acting like the hero, saving the day. He just bought FTX out for likely pennies on the dollar in a move that's honestly going to go down as a bit of business genius and also cutthroat strategy. I mean, this was a shark move. Now, in the next few months, you're going to see SBF and CZ try to spin this whole thing as if there's no conflict between them and there was never any problems. That was just a rumor, but don't believe it. This beef was very real. Only days ago, CZ was saying that
Binder gave an update today on the majority report. Apparently, Binance didn't go through with the bailout they announced in the end. Oh, wow. So they're straight fucked
after divorce. And that, quote, we won't support people who lobby against other industry players behind their backs. So very much, these guys did not like each other, and one of them just won the war. So the fact SBF let himself get bought out by probably the man he hates most in crypto just shows you how badly they must have been short on cash or the crypto that was being withdrawn. I mean, I promise you they exhausted every other option. In fact, reports are already coming out that FTX was courting basically everyone in Silicon Valley, seeking more than $1 billion, but that by mid-Tuesday, the hole in their balance sheet looked to be significantly deeper. And in the end, they had to sell out to their biggest enemy. Now, what does all of this mean? Because for one, this represents a huge centralization in the crypto space. You know, everyone wants to be decentralized. Well, the number one buying out the number two is sort of a big problem if that's your goal. There also remain huge questions.
I predict under 4 years, CoffeeZilla will get more radicalized. I think because he's astute, and he also does a lot of work going after crypto scams exclusively. I think he's going to see the writing on the wall, because the things that he's discovering in crypto, it's just a hyper-capitalist playground, which is what cryptocurrency, unregulated hyper-capitalist playground, where yes, people do make money, people do get rich, but fucking the majority of the owners of cryptocurrency are the minority of the people who have all of it and manipulate it and fuck everyone else over along the way, while promising everyone along the way that, hey, you're gonna get everything you need. This is gonna be great. This is a great system. Yeah, blockchain technology is so based, you know, we can do things we never used to be able to do before, you know, just less efficiently, and it takes a lot longer. And by the time you actually send someone Bitcoin, it'll be worth less or more than the amount that you were actually trying to send them in currencies. So as a way of transferring money, it's actually really remarkably inefficient and bad. But
like how they could have been out billions of dollars in the first place, and how exactly they were safeguarding customer funds if suddenly they...
But even if you're deeply capitalist, like even if you're like, capitalism is the best possible economic system that we have in order to be able to further prosperity in the human race, even if that's your bag, like at a certain point, you'll see the writing on the wall. You can choose at that point to kind of be like a destiny where it's like, you call it exploitation, but I call it job creator kind of thing. So maybe that's it. It could be the cognitive dissonance. I feel like someone who's got a thing for finding scams, who's got a thing for finding grifters, who's got a thing for finding people who fuck over lots of other people. That's his whole thing. Like he finds specific individuals who are fucking over thousands and thousands of people and exposes them. That's like, so I like the logical conclusion, if you go along the way, you know, I mean, maybe this is me just being an optimist.
Find themselves at a multi-billion-dollar hole in their balance sheet after people actually look to get their money out. It seems to be yet another lesson that you should not trust these crypto exchanges as far as you can throw them, and that no matter what their CEOs say about not having to worry about anything, there could be significant liquidity crisis.
Yes, I totally agree. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.